Welcome back to the I Can Relate podcast. I am your host, Gabby Chavez, and today we have a very special guest, Dallas beauty nurse, the owner of Bella MedSpa. Hey, Irma, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited to be here, Gabby. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I have some questions for you. I know this is our first time, actually meeting. We've talked on social media and whatnot. But I wanted to know, what was your idea behind creating Bella MedSpa?
So Bella MedSpa came long ago. It was long ago in the works. I actually never had planned to run my own business. I came into aesthetics because I have a little background of working on my own skin. During high school, throughout the years, I was kind of bullied because of my skin. So as I got older, I learned about skin treatments and, a little bit of aesthetics, Botox and fillers here. So when I was working at the hospital as a nurse, there was a plastic surgeon department where they have a residency. And I would work hand in hand with that department. I was in the orthopedic floor. And I was invited by one of the plastic surgeons, like, hey, come out, try some Botox. We'll work on your skin, laser removal, laser hair, or tattoo removal. So I kind of got into aesthetics at a young age of 22. I worked on my skin. And it wasn't until 2009 where another fellow nurse was like, hey, Irma, we should start doing Botox and fillers. By that time, I had already been getting these treatments myself for about 4 to 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I don't think we can do it. Only doctors and plastic surgeons can. And she's like, no, look at this program. So she showed me this program online, and it was like a weekend course. Mm-hmm. And it was conferences as well. But I looked at it. We signed up for it. I never went through with it because I was still 24. I was really young. I'm like, none of my friends are going to want to do this. Like, I work on my skin, but because I had more skin texture.
What do you think was holding you back?
I had a lot of personal, things going on. Like also, my relationship wise, raising my babies and still having babies and still planning to go to school. But it was more the fact that it wasn't very out there or well known.
It wasn't
right?
spoken of.
It was more like those were beauty secrets. You didn't talk about that, right? So I remember clearly it was 2009. We signed up for it. And she was older. She was an older nurse. She was like in her late 30s. And then every year I would get an email from the school saying, their prices had gone up. I think it started like at $3,000 back then. Mm-hmm. And then when I finally decided to go for it, it was at like $12,000. I was like, yeah, it's time. I need to do this. And I had some time off work. So this was probably like 2016 at the moment. I was out of work. I was working in the mental health department and I had an injury. So I was off work for about 2 years, and I'm not the type to just stay at home and not do anything. So I was like, this is the time. Let me go ahead and do this. I was also bridging over from my associate's degree to getting my bachelor's degree. And I think it's probably the worst time I could have chose to do that. But it was also during the time when the Kardashians were coming out with all these beauty secrets with Botox and fillers, and they normalized it. And everybody was like kind of eager to learn about it. Yeah, they were learning about it. And in my community, where I grew up, no one really talks about that, and it wasn't even known about that.
It wasn't popular in the Hispanic community
at all. Yeah, it was definitely not. It was more like, oh, no, you can't do that. You're going to look botched or you're going to look crazy, or we don't do that. That's more for, the lighter skin tone. That's not for us.
Yeah.
So that's how that went. I decided I did the weekend course. After that, I did work with a plastic surgeon on the side. I was actually trying to reach out to an esthetician in Oak Cliff. She was well known in my opinion. She was related to a friend of mine, and I wanted to work hand in hand with her. I wanted to join a team, And she's like, sure, I'm getting my new place. Give me a few months. A few weeks. I'll reach out to you. So 4 weeks passed by and nothing. And I'm like, hey, I see you're getting your place. I'm rooting for you. I'm ready whenever you are. And she kind of just kept setting aside. She opened up her place. And, I'm the type, I am persistent, but I'm not persistent. And if you, I'm telling you, I want to be a part of your team. If you don't want me, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not going to wait around for nobody. Yeah. I know what it takes to run a business. My parents have their own business. And I know it's hard work. And it's not that I didn't want to do that. It's that I was still in school. I had my babies, my boys, and they're in sports. And I still had my full-time job as I went back to work. And I kind of said, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to do it right. And I'm going to run my business in my community, because what better place than my community down the street from where my kids are. And it's a community, a Latino community, which nobody teaches us about our skin, about Botox, about fillers. Nobody knows about that. So I'm going to teach our community about the services that I do, and I'm going to offer them to them at a very affordable price. So that's how that kind of came about. And then coming up with the name Bella MedSpa was also kind of like,
What's the
a
meaning
little
behind
hard.
that?
Yeah. So Bella is beauty.
Right.
Bella.
Bella.
It's really Bella MedSpa, and everybody calls it Bella, but it's okay. My ex-brother-in-law is actually the one who came up with the name, because that song Mujer Tan Bella came out, and
Yes.
he's like, look, sis, this reminds me of you,
Right.
And I was like, hey, we should call it Bella MedSpa. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you owe me rights to it. And then shortly after, my brother-in-law, unfortunately, he passed away. And but yeah, that's how Bella MedSpa came into play. And it was just me alone, and that's how that came into Oak Cliff.
And now you have a few others.
Yeah,
under your
now
belt.
we have a team of 23 girls, 23. And so I'm excited, and I'm excited about where Bella MedSpa is going, because, we're not stopping here. We're still going.
And how do you cultivate the right culture within the team? Because 23 girls, it's all girls?
It's all girls. Yes, we used to. We had 3 men, but yes, it's mainly women right now. So during the interview process, I feel like my strongest, the 2 head honchos that I call them, Patty and Jen. At this point, they know me. They've gone to grown with me. They know my culture. They know what I expect. They know, about customer service. They know privacy. They know what the ultimate goal is at Bella MedSpa, right? They know how I want our patients to get treated. And I feel that they also understand the importance of giving back to the community and, teaching our community the importance of education, ongoing education. So it took, those 2 girls to really get trained and familiar with my culture, in order to bring in new teammates. They go through an interview process, and then once they select them, like the last, maybe 3 girls out of 10 that we interview, then they come to me and I interview them. And it's more a little bit personal, I talk about their families, I talk about their personal goals, their business goals and stuff like that. And I give them scenarios like, if you're in this situation with this patient, how would you handle that? Because I have to make sure that they can critically think.
So do you feel that the personal has a lot to do with the business?
I feel like it does. Especially in the position that they're going to be in. So depends if they're working front desk or if they're going to be a provider. Because if you're going to be a provider, I also want to know, like, what is your personal growth versus your business growth? So if I have someone coming in and saying like, hey, Irma, I want to come in, I want to work with your team. And I'm like, what is your goal? Like, what is your ultimate goal business-wise and personal? So personal, sometimes they may or may not have kids, or, they'll be like, oh, well, I have my own house, I'm married, I have my kids. I want to come work here because my business is to own my own business. So, I'm probably going to put that on the side and be like, okay, she wants to run her own business. And then I interview the next one and she's like, well, my personal goals come first. I want to work here with the team. I want to grow with the team. And I want to be a part of the team. And my goal is to buy a house in a few years and then, have a family or whatever. So that person may or may not be a better fit for my team versus the one that's trying to run her business. Because at this point, I can offer the one that's trying to run her business a mentorship, and instead of bringing her in, training her, internship at Bella MedSpa is about a year for esthetician, same with nursing. So it's going to take us a year to really kind of
get you at your standard.
Yes. And then another year to, to grow, to really make you booked and busy. And then you're going to leave. And that's not fair. We've gone through that cycle before. So I've learned
and
throughout
then being
the
able to
years.
keep confidentiality.
Yeah, very much that. But yeah, so throughout the years, that's what I've learned. But it's very important to keep the culture to where they understand, collaboration with other people in the neighborhood, how to treat our patients and what is priority, And it is always going to be the customer's going to be right, for the most part,
without
them disrespecting my staff,
Yeah.
because I know what kind of staff I have. So I have people writing these crazy reviews, or sometimes, writing messages to the page. And I'm like, absolutely
How do you
not.
handle that?
Like, I know my staff.
Right.
And I'm going to stand up for my staff. So you're not going to disrespect my staff. And sometimes, I listen to the way they talk to my front desk, on the phone. And then they get on the phone with me and I'm like, hey, this is Irma. And they're like, oh, they're so sweet, and everything. I'm like, but you're not going to talk to my front desk like that. We have to have that level of respect. You're going to treat my front desk how you treat me, and vice versa. And but we do have to, my front desk, they're very, they're a very great team. I've worked so hard to find these girls. They're amazing. They're very tolerant and they're very knowledgeable, and they go above and beyond, they really do. I feel like it took me at least 4 to 5 years to understand the interviewing and how to hire these type of people and bring them in, when we align, when the mission and the goals align with that type of person and their goals and what they want to do. And also keeping, like, you're not just a front desk for 4 or 5 years. You're going every 2 years, like, hey, what's your goal? What are you going to school for? Like, we have to move you around. You're just not settle. You're not going to settle for this and keep.
And what all positions do you have, or currently you have estheticians and injectors?
So we do. We have front desk. We have assistants for the nurses. We have estheticians. We have body contouring. We have post-op nurse. We have quite a few aesthetic nurses. We have a laser hair technician. We have a makeup artist. What else we have? That's about it.
You'll have everything.
Yeah, close to everything. Yeah, but that's the main stuff that we have right now.
That's good. 23 girls.
A total of 23. Yes,
that's awesome.
And then we have our marketing team, right?
Yeah. And then if someone was trying to get into the industry, what are the qualities that they need?
So I feel in aesthetics, you, especially when it comes to being a nurse injector, you have to be very, for one, confident, knowledgeable, and you have to stay on top of your game, and you have to be consistent.
Okay.
You can't, there's a lot of nurses that I've trained personally, and on social media, they're like, oh, this vibe, they're such a vibe, and they're so cool. And then you bring them in and they're seeing a patient and they're like, and I'm like, you have to be the same person, that you have to be authentic. You have to deliver that same energy. If you're going to be this person on social media, like, hey, like, then when your patient, you don't be screaming in their face, but you get down to business, you do the assessment, you do the treatment plan, but you're going to deliver that same energy, right? You're going to be yourself. Don't act like you're someone that you're not. And then when that patient comes in, they're going to be disappointed. And that's happened maybe about 80% of the time. A lot of what I've seen, a lot of girls come in the industry and they think it's so easy, or they try to play the part, but you can only play the part for so long until people know, hey, you really don't know what you're doing. You're really not this person that you say you are. You're kind of just repeating what your instructor or what your mentor is saying.
Or what you're hearing.
Yeah, you need to go to these conferences. So it's evolving. You have to keep growing. You have to, it's a huge part of you. Education and just being authentic and being consistent, right? And you also have to, if you believe in these treatments, I'm not saying you have to walk around with huge lips and huge cheeks. Like, you have to believe in these treatments and get them done yourself. What I look like walking around in my skin, me saying, oh, well, you need Botox and I need Botox too, but I don't want to use Botox. Like, no.
Practice what you preach.
Yeah, practice what you preach. And I do this because I love and I believe in this, and I know it works,
So I can hear the passion that you have for it. Is it something that, do you feel a lot of people that are getting in the industry are getting in the industry for the passion, or they're doing it because it pays well?
So in Texas, unfortunately, anyone can be an injector, right? But if we're referring just nurses, I feel like a lot of nurses are burnt out, especially because of COVID. Even without COVID, you're used to working a med-surg unit, and that's probably one of the toughest ER med-surg, or even just working at Parkland. You're overworked. long hours. And then you see this beautiful nurse, and she's always like her hair done, her makeup done. She drives a luxury car. She lives in this nice house, and she's an aesthetic nurse. Like, what do you do for a living? Like, I do Botox and fillers. And wow, so you always look good, and I'm also the same
Not
thing.
stressed
And
out.
yeah, like, what do you mean? I can do that. So they get out of nursing, bedside nursing, for the wrong reasons. Like, oh, I'm burnt out, which I get you're burnt out, but there's so many specialties that you can do. Me being a nurse, what I love beauty. I also love taking care of people. That's always my passion. I'm still a bedside nurse. I still work PRN. And there's certain qualities of mine that I love and that I don't think I'll ever get away from. So bedside nursing is one of them. But one of my goals has always been to own a nursing home, and to make it more like a Mexican theme, because you see all these nursing homes and our Hispanic parents are like, oh yeah, y'all better never take me to that nursing home.
But is they going to have loteria night?
Yeah, loteria. We're going to have mariachi night. It's going to be like an hacienda. Like I already have, that was a dream of mine since I was like 19,
Right.
20. 19 or 20, and it's always been that Casa Trevino next to like Saint Cecilia. I was like, that would be a perfect place. It was that empty place, but now they have condos there, so I can't build it there no more. But I was always like, that's going to be so much money. But that's always been a dream of mine, aside from beauty. But what I'm trying to say is, back to the question, because I'll get off topic and we'll be here forever. But yeah, I feel like a lot of nurses do come in here, and doctors and nurse practitioners, for the wrong reasons, like they're burnt out, or a lot of girls just want the clout. Like, honestly, they just want to be popular, or a lot of girls just, they just want to be that person, but it takes a lot. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy,
That scares me. I couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy. Sometimes, like, I know myself, I shared a lot about my journey at first, but there's a lot of stuff that I will not share, now it's not that I want to share like, oh, she's just always winning, but there's times to show the defeats or the obstacles that come your way, and there's times when not to do that. But sometimes people will never know. My world can be falling apart, but you're still going to see me posting. You're still going to see that good energy for the most part.
Yeah, nobody ever sees what goes behind closed doors.
You don't go to Starbucks, or, you don't go to a coffee place and they're getting a divorce and so they're closed for the month. Like, no, life goes on. You got to make this money. You got to keep seeing patients. They need their treatments, so you got to keep going. And sometimes I will share a little here and there just to show it's not all color pink and rainbows and stuff like that. But for the most part, I have to keep that energy for my team, because my team,
they depend on you.
They do depend. Like, even if I have 2 leads and they're very strong, they still kind of like, so yeah, it's really hard.
So with you talking about having to close down, so you try your best to leave your personal outside of your work doors when
Absolutely.
You walk in.
I think that's something of mine that I learned at a very young age. I'm a teen mom. I was a teen mom. So I had to work from the age of 16, and I worked in the medical field. And I remember, there would be sleepless nights. It was bad. And I couldn't take that to work because I worked front desk. So that I'm the first person they see. And so I did learn a lot of stuff. Sometimes I would show up, I'd be crying. Sometimes I'll be beat up, and stuff like that. And our patients had to see that. And I had to learn, like, hey, like, you have to leave whatever's going on outside. So I learned that at a very young age. So now that I'm older, like, I understand, I'm compassionate, and I can relate to my front desk. Fortunately, they don't go through that, and we do talk about it. We've had some girls, and I'm like, hey, I'm always going to be here. If you have a bad day, all you have to say is like, hey, I'm having a bad day. Like, I really can't. But luckily, like, that is not the case with my front desk.
They feel safe to come to work.
Yes,
that's their safe haven.
We have an amazing team, but yeah, that's something you cannot bring those problems. Your patient is excited to see you. They've been waiting. I have a waiting list. My patients have been waiting to see me. People can want to talk to me. And I have to deliver that good energy. They don't want to come in and see me sad, even though I'm sure they'll be very understanding, but I have to give them. And there's been days where it's not great. And I'm like, hey guys, like, I am so sorry, but I'm having a really bad day today, but let's get this going, and they'll see me next time. They'll bring me a coffee or a cupcake, and I'm so happy. And they know because the type of music that's playing. So we're playing Karol G or Beyonce or something sad, then they know, like, but when we're playing music and banda, then they know she's happy. She's going to get bombed. Yeah, it's a good day here. So, but yeah, that's how that goes.
Good. Because I think a lot of people have a hard time balancing that whole work personal dynamic. And, you know, like you said, you're at least open about it and just telling them, hey, I'm not having a good day, but I'm here, instead of jabbing them harder with the needle.
Yeah. Or not showing
that?
up. Or not showing up and canceling. So I can say for the most part, like I've had a really hard, like personal, you know, life. And it was tough, but it became my normal. So I'm numb. I was numb for a very long time to like, oh, I had the worst night. I didn't sleep. This person didn't come home all night, or this happened. And, you know, I still have to get up and I have to feed my kids. I have to take them to school. They have to see me happy. My patients, my team has to see me happy. So for the most part, my team has never seen me torn up until maybe 2 years ago.
Work is your scapegoat.
It really has been. It's a hobby. And I've always said that even when I worked at the hospital, they were like, why do you work so much? And I'm like, because I feel like I get away from all my problems. The only thing that I would hate is that I'll be away from my babies, like on the weekends and stuff like that, because I would miss their games and stuff like that.
So with that being said, how does a caring person like yourself take care of yourself?
So I was actually always asked that question, right? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? I take care of myself. Like, as long as my kids are happy, I'm happy. My parents are happy, I'm happy. But these last 12 months have been like a blessing in disguise. Well, actually, last 24 months, but we won't leave it there. So now I understand where it's like, who takes care of you, or how do you take care of yourself? So yeah, you do need that person to, you know, to help you realize the value that you are, who you are, and to make you feel good, and to make you, you know, just to make you feel like you really have accomplished something and you really have done so much. Because before, I would never see it. It's like people would come up to me and be like, oh, like you inspire us, or like, oh, like we want to, like, and I'm like, why? Like, why? Like, I just work every day. I work all the time. Like, you know, why do y'all, like, no, like it looks good on social media, but y'all don't know I'm here every day, 7 days a week. Why would y'all want to be like this? Like, you don't. You know, I love what I do.
So what would you say now that you've done differently to take care of yourself?
Now that I would definitely say, like, put in the sacrifice. You have to, your passion has to meet your purpose. Do what you love. Get the highest degree possible in whatever it is that you want to do. Because I hear a lot of people saying like, oh, you don't have to have a degree. Yes, you're right, but the chances are very slim for you to be very successful. But if you want to be whatever it is that you want to be, and you know a degree aligns with that, and you get the highest degree possible, you're going to be untouchable, and a lot more doors will open for you, right? So I always encourage that, and I always say you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice time, family, everything. But what is sacrifice? Sacrifice to everyone is different. And then everyone's goal is different. My goal may not be the same as your goal, someone else's goal, right? So some people may be like, oh, as long as I make $200 a day, I'm good. Another person, as long as I make $2,000, I'm good a day. Another person, I want to make $20,000 a day and I'm good. So
for some, it's just getting out of bed.
And and getting to meet or being a part of a team, right? And I feel like you have to sacrifice until you get to that point, but you have to have a game plan. This is how I'm going to do this. And who am I going to team up with, or who I'm going to hire to help me do this? Because you cannot do it by yourself. You can get far in life by yourself, but you can get further with the whole team. And because of my team, I'm able to cut down working 7 days a week. I'm only working 3 days a week now, from a 9 to 2. And all the other days I'm with my kids. I get to take my kids to school. I pick them up from school. I do everything for them. Every weekend I'm at their games. And so that's a blessing, because now I'm living the life that I always dreamed of. Like, I always wanted to just be there for my boys and everything. You know, working 16-hour shifts at the hospital was not fun. Every other weekend was mandatory. You know, I love what I do, working bedside, but I would be sad being away from my kids Christmas or every other Thanksgiving, Easter, or like not being able to be off when they're off. You know, that was sad for me. I think that's what took the most from me. And now I'm able to do that, and I can have no worries. And it's thanks to my team. Because if I didn't have a team, I wouldn't be able to
be there seven
balance
days.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. What degree or education is the highest that you would recommend for someone that's trying to do what you offer? Ideally, obviously, we know that
I think nurse practitioner, a master's degree. Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in science of nursing, but I think if you want to come into aesthetics, like I said, the law is changing every year. Now, well, for a couple of years now, nurse practitioners are able to diagnose. They can do the initial assessment. They still have to be under a doctor, right?
Right.
But the doctor doesn't have to see the patient once a year. The nurse practitioner can, and she can do her good faith exam. Versus, I still have to, if I'm going to treat you, I still have to say, okay, you have to see the doctor or the nurse practitioner once a year, right?
Okay.
So if I'm a nurse practitioner, I can do everything by myself, diagnose and treat and go on. Yeah, no worries.
What would you recommend to someone who's in aesthetics, beauty industry, and wants to get into the whole injection?
I would recommend you always want to do your research, right? Whether if it's on social media and you see this nurse or this doctor that inspires you or an injector that inspires you and you're like, wow, I really love what she's doing, reach out to them. Aesthetic training is never going to be free, right? Aesthetic training is expensive. So you will never find someone that's going to offer mentorship for free or training for free. And if you do, then that's a red flag. Okay. Yeah, that's a red flag. Well, no one does it, right?
Right.
And it's not just a weekend thing. So yeah, a lot of these nurses, a lot of doctors, a lot of people that are doing injectables now, they do a 1-day course, 2-day course, and now they're opening up their own med spas. And now we're having all these complications and they're coming in to see us and we have to fix this stuff. And now the patient's spending 3-4 times the amount of money that they didn't have to spend that much money if they just go to the right place with an injector that knows what they're doing. So if they're an injector or they want to be an injector, I just say do your research, message the injector that really inspires you, see what they offer, see what conferences they attend. Always be on the lookout for conferences in and out of state. Because there's so many good injectors out there worldwide, even out of the country. I've recently, the last 2 years, I fly out of the country. I've gone to Mexico and I've gone to the UK. And so those two are Dubai. I went to Dubai as well. I'm very selective on injectors and doctors.
Is their level of injections or I guess their education, is it more higher than it is here in the United States? Is it
so
more advanced?
I think in different areas. So for example, I feel like Mexico is more advanced in like skin boosters and stuff like that. But as far as injectables on the face, we're definitely better than them. I feel the UK is better than us when it comes to fillers and injectables. Europe, that's where the fillers and aesthetic treatments were started before the US. And honestly, it's just certain providers that really invest their time and not only in education, but hands-on training. And they see a lot of people and they really care about their patients. So they see what works, what doesn't work, what looks normal, and what this person is still looking good versus the person looking overfilled and stuff like that. So like I said, I'm very selective on the type of providers that I decide to follow and go to their conferences or even want to learn from. You're not going to see me paying for just an injector who has a lot of followers and stuff like that because
So you do your research on who you get continuing education from.
I do. I definitely do. So like I said, there's only maybe 3 or 4 out there that I really do here in the U.S. And you'll see me always post about them. I always share their stuff.
Yeah, I believe in continuing education, especially the beauty industry, because it's changing.
It's always evolving.
Always.
New
like it changes
trends,
overnight. Yeah,
everything, right? Good and bad.
Yeah. Well, speaking of bad, what's the worst you've had to deal with?
Honestly,
or you
in
haven't?
injectables. In injectables, I say the spocked brows, which many people refer to them as brow lifts, right?
What'd you call it?
Spocked brows, like Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
The guy that has them like this. So I feel like it was like the cat eye. Some girls refer to it as cat eyes, but it was really more of a spocked brow. Like it was horrible. It's kind of passing now. I've always been more of a neutral person. I don't like the spocked brow. I will give them a little brow lift, but you talking about they want it to the extreme, like literally with the threads and stuff. I don't know if you ever saw that. And it's just literally like, yeah, it was like a ponytail brow lift. Kind of some people would refer to it as that, but it's a spocked brow. It's bad Botox at the end of the day. We call it Groupon Botox because You can pay $5 a unit
Is that
and they
still
can make you
around?
look like that,
Like, is that still around?
Actually, think it's kind of died out, so I'm thankful
Okay.
for that. But that's probably the worst that I've seen. And yeah, that's probably the worst I've seen.
Spocked brow. I learned something new today.
Spocked, yeah.
Well, I have some questions for you.
Let's go.
Your favorite childhood memory?
I think my favorite childhood memory was growing up with my brothers and my cousins. So I come from my
Are you the only girl?
I am. I was the first girl born into the family. So
was I.
that's cool. We used to play cops and robbers. So it's crazy. I was a tomboy growing up, right?
Same.
And so now my classmates, colleagues, everybody, they see me, they're like, what happened? You used to be the girl with the chongo and Jordans and jeans. Like, what happened? You look different. And I'm like, it's the Botox, it's the fillers. Like, y'all need to come see me, send your wife, because I had more friends that were guys. I grew up, we used to play Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, in the neighborhood that I grew up in. And, you'd be surprised. I have a lot of like scars, on my face and everything I had, and that's why I'm saying like I got into aesthetics very young, removed all that stuff. And so I felt like I had to give back to my community and teach them about like, hey, like, you have bad skin or you have textured skin or scars, like, come, we can help you. We can get rid of that. So, yeah, growing up with my guy cousins and my brothers was probably the best.
What is that you think of is the worst beauty trend out right now?
Aside from the spot, right now. I don't know. There's many, I guess. I can't think off the top of my head. So, but I know we talked about the Russian lashes, kind of
The caterpillars?
the caterpillar lashes. I think that's one thing. I think to me, less is best. More natural aesthetic. If we're talking about injectables, I like to keep it more natural aesthetic. Not too much filler in the face. Now we have plasma. We have dermaplasma, we have threads, we have sculpture, we have a lot of treatments that will build up your own collagen versus just pumping your face with filler and making you look like a pillow face, right? And when
Pillow face.
it's a pillow face because you probably look good when you're at rest or when you have that resting bee face, right? Like you look good, everything's nice and snatched, but the moment you smile, like your eyes don't even show, or like you have these big old full cheeks, and no. Yeah. So I always say less is best in everything, lashes, fillers and stuff like that.
Alrighty. Your favorite social media account to follow?
My favorite social media account to follow is Dr. Subio, Subbio. Yeah. He is so real about these aesthetic treatments. And he just puts people out there like, hey, like, you talk about, for example, less is best. Let's see your face. Let's see how you look.
Right.
And you're an injector. Like you talking about like a more natural aesthetic, but you don't look like a natural aesthetic. He doesn't bite his tongue. He's always putting educational content. He makes animated pictures where patients can see the muscles and they can see where the injection is going and what kind of injection and how it's going to react and how it's going to help them. So animated wise, and his posts, I feel they're very educational and they're at a level where patients can understand. So I love all his content.
That sounds like I want to go follow him.
Yeah, you do want to go follow him.
Your favorite music genre?
Corridos, banda, Mexican for sure.
So that's when we know you're happy.
I'm happy, yeah. It can be a heartbreaking song, but I'm happy,
If you could meet anyone in person, who would it be?
Probably Beyonce.
Beyonce?
Yeah. Yeah. She's so mysterious.
She is.
I love her. But
I always
she's so
wonder what she's
mysterious.
thinking.
Yeah. It would be Beyonce.
All right. If you could choose, stay in or go out?
That's a tough one. It depends
on
what
the
day of the
mood.
week. The day of the week you're asking me. It depends. If you're asking me right now on a Monday after I had my makeup done and hair, no, I'm kidding. I like to stay in. I'm more of a homebody. Yeah.
All righty. If you had $1 billion, what would be your first purchase? and you can't spend it on family or give it back?
I think investing is important. Real estate is important, but it goes back to the dream that I've wanted from the beginning. And it would definitely be to build that nursing home and build that community.
Hopefully it's ready by the time I'm old.
It's going to be so much fun.
It's not that far away.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it would definitely be to invest back in real estate.
Yep, that's a great option. What would be your dream brand to partner with for Bella MedSpa?
Wow, that's I think Skims, honestly.
Skims?
Mm-hmm.
I could see it.
Yeah, Skims.
And your favorite book, podcast, or public speaker?
So podcast, definitely Ronnie Brown. She's a mentor of mine, and she's phenomenal. She's taught me how to rebrand, how to brand myself, market, and just everything on being just a boss. You know, she's amazing. So that's someone you probably want to listen to, Ronnie Brown.
Well, thank you so much for coming. I loved having you, and I learned a lot. And hopefully a lot of others were able to get a little bit of insight about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I do hope that, our listeners did learn a lot. And maybe it sparks them a little interest to go, see Bella MedSpa, one of the providers at Bella MedSpa, which a lot of my peers call it Hollywood in the hood, So y'all come see me. I'll do a whole treatment plan. We'll talk about your goals and everything, but I'm excited, and it's thanks to word of mouth. So,
right.
Yeah, so everyone listening, come check us out, see us, follow us.